My mom is Christian and my dad is Jewish until I hit my teenage years, and when I started reading the Bible, it was like for the first page, for example, it said that, God created the world in 6 days and on the seventh day he rested and got refreshed. To me, it was just, it didn't make sense. And the first thing I read was beginning of Surah Baqarah. I started having tears floating out of my eyes. Like my body started shaking. I started crying. Like I didn't read nothing else. I have no concept of what Islam is. So I was raised in a semi-religious Jewish Christian family. Originally from Russia, my family came to America when I was 9 years old. And my mom is Christian and my dad is Jewish, my stepdad, but he raised me. He's Jewish. So religion was never a topic that I would think of or even care about until I hit my teenage years and I hit depression and just overwhelming emotions and going through a whole bunch of stuff that I felt that I need to connect with something higher. So I decided to look into God. And when I started reading the Bible, it was like for the first page, for example, it said that, God created the world in 6 days and on the seventh day he rested and got refreshed. To me, it was just, it didn't make sense. I was like, God rested, refreshed, like, no, it was not feeling right. I felt like these are human qualities. In my mind, I felt like God is something, he's our creator, he's something bigger, doesn't need no rest, he doesn't need none of that. So I saw the flaws in the Bible.
Setelah menemukan banyak kontradiksi, serta ayat-ayat dalam Bible yang tidak sesuai dengan sifat Tuhan sebagai Sang Maha Pencipta. Wanita kelahiran Rusia ini pun memulai perjalanan pencariannya ke beberapa agama, yang menurutnya bisa memberikan gambaran akan sifat-sifat Tuhan, sebagai sesuatu yang maha perkasa.
Maybe I should look into Buddhism. And so I started looking into Buddhism and concept of Tao, which was actually very interesting, but there was also things that threw me off, because Buddhism is not, it's not a religion, okay? Buddhism is just kind of a way of life, I guess. So there was no connection with God for me. So that was also put aside. So after Buddhism, the next thing I looked into was actually Hinduism. I figured they're very ancient religion, they know what's going on. Maybe I should be meditating Kundalini and, just those kind of things. So I looked into Hinduism. It was just done. I was like, I can't follow this, I cannot. Buddhism is not really religion. Hinduism is to me, it was nonsensical because of their descriptions of God,
Tidak putus asa, dia pun meneliti ajaran politeisme yang pada akhirnya malah menjerumuskan dirinya sebagai seorang ateis, dan tidak percaya lagi dengan konsep yang ditawarkan agama, dan memutuskan kalau Tuhan itu tidak ada.
So, what I looked into after that was polytheism. I was like, you know what, maybe religions of even more ancient people are right. Maybe the whole, statue worshipping thing, is a thing. Maybe they're just spirits that created this universe, and if we have these statues, that's how we connect with them. So it was a funny story, because at that time I actually decided to go and buy a statue. Yes, I went to the store. It's called Psychic Eye. It's some kind of a new age store, and I walk in there and I'm like, I want to buy a statue of God, do you have any? And as I said that, I realized how dumb I sound, and how the guy's gonna kick me out of here. But instead he looks at me, he's like, yes we do, which one would you like? And the whole situation was just so hilarious for me. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm thinking to myself, I'm here to buy a statue of God Almighty, and the guy's like, yeah, sure. It's a normal thing. Needless to say, I didn't buy anything. I went home, I was like, you know what, this is the end. I no longer believe in religion. It's all nonsense. I'm crazy, and this gotta stop. And this is how I became an atheist. I decided that there is no God, there's none of this is true, it's just I'm wasting my time. Those deeds though, everything that I was doing, eventually it made me feel miserable. It made me feel like there's just nothing out there, life is pointless. You know, I could do all this evil stuff and I could get a whole bunch of money doing it, but I don't feel happy. I don't feel complete. I don't feel my life is worth anything. And I got seriously depressed. Like, I had a concept in my mind that I knew, okay, if there is God, this is how he should be, you know. He cannot be a human, he cannot be something that eats and sleeps, he cannot have like 2 arms, 3 arms, or be blue, green, whatever. Like, it has to be something out there because I could feel it. I didn't have knowledge of it. And I remember one time, me and my girlfriends, we were actually at a bar, and there was a group of guys standing there, and I could hear the conversation, and I've noticed one of the guys' name was Islam. His name was Islam. And I'm trying to listen kind of to what they're talking about because we're just all standing outside and I could hear them. And I hear one of them saying that, yeah, there's this religion. Like, I could hear them talking about Islam. I'm not sure even how their conversation about that started, but what I got out of it, that Islam is a religion. And up until then, I used to think Islam is like some city in the Middle East where like these crazy terrorist people are from. I never even considered it a religion. Like, from the religions I was reading about, Islam just never came up. Anyway, it just got stuck in my head. So a few days later, I was actually at work, and their conversation kind of popped up into my mind again. And I was like, you know what? Since I already know about all of these other views, worldviews, I want to kind of top it off. And I want to make sure I know everything about, you know, everything in my mind. So I googled Islam, found out that their book, they actually have a book, and it's the Qur'an, and decided to read it. So the first thing I read was beginning of Surah Baca, second chapter, said that basically those who do believe in prophets and do believe in the unseen and do believe in God and all of these things, those are the successful. And at that time, I can't even describe what happened. As I was reading it, I started having tears floating out of my eyes. Like, my body started shaking. I started crying. In my brain, I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, I didn't read nothing else. I have no concept of what Islam is. I just read that first page, and it was like a light bulb in my brain. It was just amazing for me. I could not stop myself from crying. Something happened inside my heart and my mind that I just couldn't stop. And I was at work. I had to leave the office, say, you know, tell them that something serious happened. I have to be outside for a few moments. I went outside and I just cried. Go back in there, Google how to become a Muslim. And it said, you know, you have to read the Shahada. And I, in the English letters, I actually read the Shahada right then and there without having no info on anything else. I just felt like this is what I was looking for, and this is what I was missing. So I become a Muslim, and I know nothing about praying, covering. I don't know any Muslims. It's just, I told my family that I converted, and they kicked me out of the house. They told me that, you know, you're the Christian, stay here, or if you want to be a Muslim, just go. And I left, and I was, you know, part homeless, I guess. I was just sleeping at a friend's house. And that's how I became instantly a Muslim.